Okay. Hey, money magician. Spontaneous broadcast, right? So this sometimes happens with me. um, Welcome to yet another live class with me. So if you've just joined us, my name is Wangile Mapakwa, and I'm the founder of Wealthy Money and the host here at the Wealthy Money Magicians Facebook group. And I teach and coach women to liberate themselves from ancestral money stories so that they can live their best lives, increase their income, and fall in love with their bank account, right? So I was going to just leave this as question in the group, and I just felt suddenly the urge to do a live video, which happens with me all the time, right? So I'm like this, even in the retreat, like the students got to see me live and upfront, like the schedule changed at the drop of a hat and everything just went differently based on what I was like getting guidance on. And most times they didn't complain because they saw what a shift it is. And I'm like this in the money magic group with the student group. So anyway, Sensagile asked something, and she asked about feeling uncomfortable around having money. But she was talking about a large sum of money. And I was thinking, it's not so much about the discomfort, because she was saying, is there a quick tip or is there tips or tricks or whatever to help with that? And I wanted to explain what's actually happening whenever we manage money and how our brains are actually processing our relationship with money and our management of money and our handling of money. Because I realize that most times people think, oh, all I have to do is affirm and visualize and everything, and then my life will change, my finances will change, or all I have to do is I need to do a budget and then everything will change. And then we get frustrated when we realize that we're not sticking to the budget and we don't understand why, right? And it's just one part of the equation. So whatever's happened, so I want us to think of our brains as this big robot. Think of your brain from a young age as a robot that comes with some information around how our ancestors behaved with money, right? So whoever your ancestors are, grandmothers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers. And then think of it also as maybe having some past life information. You don't have to believe in the past lives, right? But ancestrally, it is now scientifically proven that our ancestors pass on knowledge to us. They just don't pass on our looks, right? They also give us our knowledge, which is how we intuitively sometimes know how to do certain things, right? So now imagine you're this robot. This is your brain, literally, right? So it comes with this much information to begin with from birth. And then as you start managing money, you get more and more information from parents. You're observing your family members. You're observing your mom and your dad as to how they relate with money, right? And how they behave with money. So you're a little child and you're this robot that doesn't have this ability. Your brain doesn't have the ability to filter out, oh, I don't want to see this stressing around money. I don't want to see this worry around money. I don't want to see this discomfort around money. So assume every month end you saw your mom or your dad or your uncle or whoever always managing money, and every time they got paid, they needed to get rid of money as fast as possible, right? Or they used the money and instantly there was no more money in the bank account, right? So you observe this as a child, that as soon as people get paid, the money is spent on everything that you couldn't get during the month, right? You're spending it on goodies, junk food, the whole 9 yards, and I'm frozen again. Okay, so you're spending all the money on that, right? So as a child, again, remember you're a robot, so you're getting all this information and you're going, okay, this is how one behaves with money. This is how one behaves with money. Now imagine that you're seeing this every single day and you're registering it as this is how one behaves with money every month end or whatever. And during the month, you're seeing adults behave in a particular manner, stress about money. Maybe you're seeing an uncle or an aunt having a fight about money. All that is coming into your brain, right? Everything. So now imagine that's happening every minute because your brain is registering that. And not only are you seeing the arguments or the talks around money, you're also feeling, because we're sensory beings, right? So if you're an empath, it's even more intense. So empaths have the ability to sense other people's emotions. So you're in the house, you're this little child, you can sense the tension whenever money is brought up. You're taking that tension on in your body. Your body is now registering that every time money is discussed or the topic of money comes on, there's tension. Now imagine that happening all the time, right? So at least once a day, which is probably not just once a day, but often 365 days in a year, right? And now imagine that you've grown up in this your whole life. Maybe you leave home at 20. So you've had every single day of registering this topic about how to behave with money, how to feel with money. Your brain has now made it gospel. It now believes this is how you behave with money. And remember, you're a robot, right? This is literally how the brain is working. So your brain now has a money program. That's what we call a money program and a money story. So now you've got 365 days over 20 years where you're behaving like this. And now, so when you start working, you suddenly find yourself tapping into that, because that's the money program that your brain has. And every time the program is repeated at home, every time at month end, you saw the same behavior. Every time money was discussed, you felt the same tension, saw the same kind of reaction from the adults around you. The more the brain says, yes, this is how money is supposed to be managed. This is the right way to behave with money. This is the right way to feel with money. So it's almost like you have no choice. So suddenly if you grew up in that environment and you sense that every time money was received, there was some kind of discomfort, money was spent willy-nilly, there was no sitting down and discussing the budget, talking about investments, all that, then that's going to be your automatic go-to for your money program, right? So when we talk about changing your behavior with money, changing your emotional reaction to money, we're talking about changing years and years of that emotional reaction, right? So it's not something that when people say to me, do you have a tip or a trick? I often have to say, it's not that easy. It's that we're actually working on reprogramming the inner child. So there's a lot of inner child work. There's a lot of mother wound work. There's a lot of going into healing the vows that we made every time those incidents occurred in our childhood, right? Because we're not just healing. It's not just one incident. Often it's one incident that then where we go, okay, this is the way to behave with money. And then we see that incident occurring, and we go, okay, this is true. So every time that truth is reinforced. So it's like literally imagine, as they say in Vipassana, you're drawing a line. So every time that behavior happens, you draw a line in the sand. Every time it happens, you draw another line on top of that. So it's deeply chiseled within the mind, within the psyche, and the emotions are deeply embedded in the body as well. So the emotions around money are also embedded because this is years and years of programming. So this is why we do the inner work. If you ask the Money Magic students and you look at a lot of personal development coaches and all that, they will tell you that this is not, you do it oh, I do it for like a few months and I let it go kind of work. No, that's not how the work works. It's daily work. It's a daily practice. You show up for an hour, 2 hours every day. So the Money Magic students are literally showing up to do meditations for an hour a day and doing journal prompts and everything. And that's how the shifts are happening. Because if you think about having we're fighting 365 days of X amount. So in my case, about 35 years of work, right? That of programming around money that we picked up as kids and as adults that got reinforced. So it's not something that you're going to go, oh, it's a tip, it's a trick. I can do it. I'm going to be able to change that in, say, a week, 2 weeks. Sometimes that happens, right? It's a shift, but sometimes that's because the program isn't so deep. And then we find out that we cleared one layer, but there's another layer to clear. That's why there's often layer upon layer upon layer. And that's why sometimes you'll find yourself, okay, fine, I paid off debt. But now I'm like, okay, I need to work towards semi-retirement. And that requires a different type of thinking. And there's different stories in the family that we had around retirement and income to say debt and savings that we had. So that now requires a different level of work for me. So that means, okay, go back. Now we need to find the layers around income. We need to find the layers around retirement. What was I taught? What did I hear? What did the inner child absorb? What are my vows of loyalty? What are my vows of rebellion against that? Okay, so I hope this makes sense. So this is what I mean by saying we do the work. It's deep work, right? It's healing. We're actually healing some deep wounds and scars so that those things no longer hold us back. They no longer form part of our programming, because as long as the wounds are there, that's like the wounds are what keep us in the program, right? I don't know if you guys heard that, but I was saying that the wounds are what keep us in the program. And until we can heal those wounds, years and years of gunk and junk and memories and stories that we've stored in our bodies, in our psyche, we're not able to move forward. So it's about healing that, transforming it, changing it. It doesn't have to take years and years to see shifts, right? A lot of the Money Magic students see shifts within a month, but it's also they're doing work. They can tell you they're doing an hour to 2 hours of inner work a day. And you can look at a lot of the personal development coaches, and no matter how high they are in their game, they'll tell you they're doing a lot of the inner work. And there's a lot of healing. This is how we up level financially. So that's why I can't ever give people tips and tricks, or when they ask me, why is this happening? Because everyone's situation is unique. I don't know your full money story. Sometimes I can hazard a guess based on how you're behaving. So it's not that I'm like a fortune teller. It's just because I've done so much coaching with clients, and I do so much coaching with students in the Money Magic group. So I can start to see that based on people's different childhoods, I can start to hazard a guess on where you are in your money story and how it's affecting you. So I hope this helps and helps you understand why we're behaving the way that we do with money, and helps us understand the discomfort, right? So have a fantastic weekend and keep posting questions in the group. I love it. I mean, I still haven't even unpacked the full question that Senzegile was asking, which I will on Monday in another live video. But today I just wanted to explain why we behave the way we do with money. And really, we're all just 4-year-olds managing money, managing huge amounts of money, because every time we manage money, we go back to that program that our 4-year-old self formed and developed. So we're actually reacting from a 4-year-old or a 2-year-old's point of view around money, which is really scary. This is why we need to heal, so that our 4-year-olds are not in control of our finances, in control of our salaries, right? So yeah, have a fantastic evening. Cheers. I just lost. Okay. I have no clue why this is not closing. Oh. Okay, Be Live doesn't want to close. So I'm trying to end the live video because the whole block just lost electricity right now. So the entire apartment building, we have no electricity. So I'm like, why is this not closing? There we go.